Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to the channel, man. This is your boy AK Harrison from whoisak harrison.com. You can also catch me at the blog spot at bigmoneytrucker.com. So, man, I've been all over the internet. First of all, welcome back. How is everybody? How is your day? How's your week going so far? All right, it's Tuesday. All right, it's almost hump day, man. Just hang on in there, dog. Get that money, whatever it is that you do to make ends meet. Do it and do it well. You know what I'm saying? And if you ain't got no job, celebrate anyway. You know what I'm saying? Hey, kids, you know what I'm saying? If you have kids, celebrate your kids, And if you are a kid, man, welcome. You know what I'm saying? I hope you can possibly learn something and be entertained and enjoy what Uncle Ken got going on, what Uncle AK got going on, man. Hey, we're going to be talking about capitalism. Speaking of kids, man, speaking of kids and the effects of capitalism. And capitalism, what we know is it is a system that is designed for the free market, right? If you have an idea, if you have a product, if you have something that is you can sell and market and sell it, you can make as much money off that thing, that idea in the free market as the free market will allow it. And if you're not making any money, then that means that you just go broke, right? You're not valuable in the marketplace, right? And that's fair. Capitalism, when on paper, it is a pretty fair, pretty simple idea. If you have the means to make money off whatever it is, whether it's your mind, whether if it's your body, whether it's a product that you make, if the market value if the market says that there is value, if society says that there is value there, then you are able to sell it for a price. Here comes the rain. Cool. Here comes the rain. All right. Yeah, here comes the rain. So you can sell that thing, make money on it, and make as much money as you possibly can, because that right there is capitalism. Okay. Capitalism is good for some, not always good for others, because capitalism is the ultimate measure of winners, if you will, and losers. If you have money, you're winning, and if you don't, you're losing. If you're making money, you are winning in the system, and if you're not making money, you are losing in the system, right? But then there's the other side of capitalism, right? Because you can, make money and purchase things and do things, and you can buy houses and buy cars, and you can go on vacation, and you can, just enjoy yourself or spend your money. Maybe you want to stack your dollars, because that you can do that in capitalism. Warren Buffett, he's a capitalist. He's an investment guy, and he's one of the richest persons in the world. Last time I checked, he has something like um, $80 billion. Something crazy, right? And he doesn't spend a dime. The same house that he lived in 40, 50 years ago, he's still living that same house, right? He's not running out buying the latest and greatest of shoes and clothes and material things. He just enjoy making money. My type of capitalist right there. My type of capitalist. He just make money. And then when it's all said and done, and he said he's going to give away most of his wealth. Him and Bill Gates, they're going to give away their wealth, man. They are worth billions And then when they kick the bucket, they are going to give away billions versus giving it to their children. People do that all the time, right? People do that all the time. I got some family members who give away their billions too to non-family members. Imagine that. Crazy. But here we go. Capitalism on the other side of it, right? While you're in the marketplace and you're making money and you're thinking about making money and you're trying to make money, what if you're not making enough money to participate in the rat race? What if you're not making enough money to buy a house, buy a car, even have a family? Yep, that could happen. And that is a common thing what's going on in America with capitalism. Like, people aren't able to support not only themselves but a family. They're not able to buy a house. They're not able to buy a car. They have a job. They have a good paying job, but the job just don't pay enough. It's just enough for them. So what do you do? And we're going to take a closer look at capitalism and what happens when you don't make enough money. One of the effects of capitalism.
CDC shows the number of children women are having has decreased for a second year in a row. The record level decline last year is leading to fears there may not be enough children to sustain the next generation.
All right. So women aren't having kids. They're not having babies. And it's been on a steady decline from last year and the year before that. We had that pandemic year when everybody was in the house, and then we got some pandemic babies out of that. God bless America for that. But since we got people out the house, now they're working again, trying to make ends meet. And women are like, you know what? I don't make enough money to have any kids. But let's see what the reporter has to say.
For more, we are joined by CBS chief medical correspondent, Dr. John LaPook, who's been analyzing the numbers. So, Dr. LaPook, why is this an issue we should be worried about?
Well, I've been looking at the big numbers and the big pattern, right? If you go back to 2000, there were 4 million births and about 2.4 million deaths. And that led to 1.6 million more people on Earth than before that, right? You go forward to 2023, the number of births has dropped from 4 million to 3.6 million. I mean, that's a huge drop. And the deaths were 3.1 million. And so now you only have an excess of 500,000 new people, okay? Over time, we talk about the sandwich generation, right? The people in the middle. And then there are the people that they're taking.
All right, so we have more people dying than we are having being born. There are more people kicking the bucket than they are being born into the world.
Take care of, their parents, and then the kids are underneath them. That's got to be balanced. And it's getting lopsided. And the fear is that as these numbers go down, you're simply not going to have enough people entering the economy to sustain it.
And John, do we know?
All right. So out of fear, people aren't having kids. There is a fear that we just won't have enough people to sustain society. Because you need people to work, right? You need people to do things. You need people to help maintain things. Work in the grocery stores, work in the factories, work in the farms, work the highways, maintain infrastructure, build infrastructure, fly planes, drive buses, drive trucks, build cars, make clothes, care for the elderly, teach the youth. And we just don't have, and the way that society and the way that women are choosing to not give birth and have kids, it is impacting society, and it will impact society moving forward.
Why this is happening, or is there some thoughts about why these numbers are declining?
Yeah, there are a lot of thoughts. First of all, the most obvious is that women are delaying pregnancy. We know that's been a pattern for decades and decades. So they're having babies later. Teenagers, interestingly enough, the birth rate there has dropped. So that's from contraception.
All right, so teenagers aren't having any kids and women are having any kids. Teenagers not having any kids, that's a good thing.
And education. And then you have sort of the question mark. So a lot of people are talking about the generation now saying, you know what, I just don't want to have children. There's such uncertainty about the future. I've actually had that in my own practice, people talking to me about this, whereas I didn't have that 10 years ago.
And so John, just to get, is it that the US population it's not decreasing, it's just growing at a slower rate? Is that right?
It's such a good question, John, because, and this is the punchline here at the end of all these numbers, which can be confusing. From 2023 to 2024, the population of the United States increased by 3.3 million. But I just told you that there were only about 500,000 new births. What was the other 85% was from international migration. This got a time when we're cutting down on that, right? We're sending people out of the country. So,
all right, so the government tried to bring in, immigrants. That is the whole idea behind immigration or immigration, right? Because in capitalism, people get a little more conservative in capitalism. They don't get more liberal. They become more conservative. In a capitalistic society, people don't become more liberal. They start making more conscious decisions with their money, with their things, with their well-being. All right, but that's just one news article. We're going to check out another one. That was CBS News, CBS Evening News. Now we're going to check out 60 Minutes and their news story. You see what they have to say.
"60 Minutes Overtime."
Our story this week on 60 Minutes is about Japan, the incredible shrinking country that is losing population.
All right, now the reason why I chose this story with Japan, because Japan is a first world country, first class country, and Japan, if you ever visit Tokyo, if you ever get a chance to visit Tokyo, one of the greatest cities in the world, I'm telling you, you'll see those big lights in Tokyo. The city is extra clean. I'm talking about it is an immaculate city. Okay? One of the best cities that you'll ever visit. And it's conservative. And it's been conservative for many, many, many years. Centuries to be exact. And they have, like I said, one of the most advanced technology country in the world. And they're not having babies there either. Let's find out why, though.
At an alarming rate, some of which is for reasons specific to Japan. In other ways, this is a real sort of canary in the coal mine. This is a real barometer of what...
Man, look at that house. Sheesh. Here it is. I just big them up and said, man, they're a first world country. And that look like a damn disaster. That look like Haiti.
Number of countries, the United States included, is going to confront in terms of demographics in the next decades and even centuries.
Like Japan and many other countries, the United States is facing a low birth rate. On Wednesday, the U.S. announced a total fertility rate of 1.6 children.
All right, so the total fertility rate we got some numbers right here. You got 1,600 births per 1,000 women. Less than 1%, an increase of less than 1%
per woman in the U.S. That's less than a 1% increase from 2023, a year that saw an historic low. And still.
All right, so we're still talking about those COVID years. A lot of things, like those COVID years, really kind of shifted how we do things, man. Like they really impact and skewed the numbers and society as a whole, man. I'm talking about in every aspect. I'm talking about logistics. I'm talking about healthcare, even in your personal life and business, man. Those COVID years really impacted how we do things.
Well below the rate of 2.1 births needed to maintain a population.
Oh boy.
Americans are having less babies and they are delaying having baby to later on in life.
All right. American women, they are putting off raising children until they're 30. Why not?
Spoke with Dr. Troy No, the chair of Columbia University's Heilbronn Department of Population and Family Health. He told us there are a few things that can explain this decline.
The big data story from the CDC data is that women under the age of 30 are having less babies. There's a society-wide shift on how people value family, work,
that's New York,
and personal fulfillment moving forward. And I don't think people are not having family because they don't value family. I think they are trying to navigate the dynamic environment. For couples who are wanting babies, housing is extremely unaffordable.
All right, there we go. There we go. Now we get into the nitty gritty, okay? So one thing, we got family structure. That's one, right? Because it's not just man and woman now. Now it's woman and woman and man, and they're figuring that out in real time. Now we get into the nooks and crannies of it. So you got the relationship issues. Now we got the capitalist and the money and the economics of it. Let's go.
Childcare is patchy.
Woo! So we got housing, childcare. If you ever paid daycare, you already know daycare is expensive, especially good daycare. Especially good daycare. There's one research that says that it takes $250,000 to raise a kid from birth to 18. $250,000.
Are unaffordable, and wages haven't kept up with living costs.
Here we go.
The world of having
I had stepped on that. Let's run that back.
Patchy or unaffordable, and wages haven't kept up with living costs. The world of
all right, so the cost of living went up, housing up, child care to raise a child is up, but wages are stagnant. Rent and mortgage, the cost to even build a house went up. How much it costs to raise a child? Up. Wages stagnant.
Having a baby for them seem unimaginable. So I think, how do we build a more supportive system to make sure that people who do want kids can have kids with dignity and with opportunity?
Well, thank you very
The
much.
Trump administration hopes to turn things around.
It's interesting that he used the word dignity. Definitely the opportunity, but it's interesting that he chose the word dignity.
Aiming to lower IVF treatment costs and hearing proposals like expanding child tax credits and offering
Child tax credit. Okay.
a baby bonus for new mothers.
A baby bonus. Bam, 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 bam. So they're going to be paying people to have kids. Wow. Now that's an idea, right? You know, pay a person to have kids. I mean, I'm guessing like for the people who don't want any kids, right? Or who it has to cross your mind to have a kid. Like, how much would that cost you, right? Like, how much would you sign on the dotted line for? Would you be like, okay, $5,000 a year, or $12,000 a year, or $20,000 a year? Like, what's your number to say, hey, I need this much to have a child, and I'll bring a child into the world, and I will raise a child for this much right here. This is what it's going to cost me, my time and energy. How much? What number is that?
And there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus whenever they have a child. Are you considering that? Or
all right, so she just used the word mom. What about the dads, right? What about the dads? See, that's the thing right there, man. That's one of the things. We start talking about it's only women that can have kids. No, guess what? Men can have kids too. They can go into the adoption agency and go get them one too. They can. They could get a surrogate mom. They could go down to the sperm bank, get a surrogate mom, and get the mom to carry the baby. Which, that's a lucrative business too, and that's something else altogether. I read a number somewhere like 50,000 for a surrogate baby. But men can have kids too, without the woman, right? Without a woman being, even though I don't support that. I think there should be two parents, however you figure it out. Two parents in the house. It's just more feasible for the kids, man. And for everybody, actually. But consider the men. Consider the men.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
But Columbia University's Dr. No told us these incentives are unlikely to move the needle.
The global evidence is very clear. We can't buy fertility. Japan have invested so much in the last 40 years, and their fertility is still at 1.2.
So I think back in the day, the number was 2.5 kids, 2 kids and a dog. That's what it was. Now we down to 1 kid and a chihuahua. Get a nice Yorkie or something. As a matter of fact, they bringing the pit bull down into a pocket bully. Next thing you know, it's going to be a miniature pit bull, man. You're going to have a miniature bully. From a pocket bully to a miniature. They eat less.
South Korea have invested $200 billion into boosting up fertility, and it hasn't worked. Their total fertility rate is at 0.7. What we learn from Europe and Asia is that, sure, you can invest in a supportive system, better childcare, tax credit, pay leave, fair parenting, but it's not going to make a difference in your fertility rate. That's just the global data. You can buy fertility, but what you can.
So he just said that you can't put a price on it. I don't know. I beg to differ, right? I think if you gotta got to make it worth people's while, man. Like, seriously, though. And then, like, you really do. You really do.
Can do is to create a supportive system for couple who want babies.
All right, so he's talking about the humanity side of it, all while trying to he's talking about the humanity side of having kids. You know, you support a couple. However, he's still not addressing the economic side of it, man. Like, yo, kids are expensive. We need more money.
And then I really think lowering the cost of IVF is great for a couple who wants to have babies. And I think we have to do it in a fair way. All couple who wants babies should have access to that.
Dr. No said the U.S. could find solutions to its demographic problems through other means.
When you see decline in fertility and an aging population, you have a shrinking workforce. Not everybody gonna like it, but immigration, technology, and education can all help keep the economy dynamic.
Immigration. The only country that is having babies in the world are those brown countries. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some stuff right quick, man. Let's see. We're gonna look this up in real time, man. All right. Figure 1, figure 2. Population decline. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's find something. Get us some real numbers, man. Population decline. Declination. Let's go. So let's go. Stick with an African. Find us a good map. I want to find us a good map that got some data on the end of natural population growth. And this is a good source right here. All right, so you can see right here in Russia, they stopped having kids, you know. Let me see, that is Russia. Yep. And it's cold in Russia too. Like, shoot, how can you have kids? Yeah, kids, man, it's so cold up there, man. All right. Year in which deaths start to outnumber or expected to outnumber births by country. All right. So right here in Russia, they already in that phase where they're dying off right here in Russia. Okay. See the yellow code right here? Blow that up. See if I can see that. And let me move myself down so y'all can really see that. All right, here we go. All right, so this is a map what we're looking at. Year in which deaths start to outnumber expected birth rates by country. So Russia, they already are dying off, man. They already have more deaths than births. You can see right here, yellow, 1990 to 2020. Here they go right here. Then the next one, 2021, 2050 is this light blue stuff. You got Canada. You got this look like Brazil over here. Asia. Okay. So 2021 to 2050, Canada, Brazil, Asia. Then you got 2051 to 2000 to 2100. Let's say that. Then you got the Americas. You got Mexico. Then you got, what's that, Venezuela. All right. South Africa. India. You got some stuff in the Middle East. Those countries. And then check this out. After 2100, you got this continent of Africa. And then you got this in Australia. And then you got this part right here that is West Europe and like Upper Asia. That is like Upper China, like almost China and Russia after 2100. So Africa getting busy. Australia. You got East. Is that Eastern Europe? And then parts of Asia. Brown countries, man. And brown people. All right, let's get back to what we was doing. Let's get back to what we were doing. Get me back on screen. Booyah.
The rise of AI that will replace a lot of mundane and repetitive jobs. So it opened door for investment.
Hey man, that black man. Hey, the black man gonna be saving the population, dog.
In training and education, in quality job and enjoyable jobs. And maybe we can also think about resource distribution, better healthcare, economic stability, and a more thriving set of policy that allow people to have a freedom of choice in terms of what
I
kind
like
of
that he's
life
speaking
they want
on the
for themselves.
humanity side of it. That's real dope. We're gonna go 2 more reports. This one's Fox News. This was a marriage report because of course if they're not having kids, they must be not being married either. So let's check this out, man. Yep.
Why are so many young people suddenly so angry? Well, mostly it's economics. Teal Capital's Eric Weinstein recently got
broke, 5 broke.
to the core of it. He said this, quote, essentially, a young breadwinner needs to be able to buy a reasonably priced home in a decent town with many opportunities and provide for a second parent to stay home raising young children. You want our parties to end this unraveling? Get them to agree that when a nation cannot provide sufficient opportunities for young folks to couple, become stakeholders, and tend to the raising of healthy kids, we have problems. We certainly do. And we recently talked to Brad Wilcox of the National Marriage Project about this. Brad, thank you for coming on. As I watch the kind of perennial popularity of socialism come back, people my age, almost 50, think socialism, really? You have to ask yourself, well, what's the appeal? What could possibly be the appeal of socialism? And then I see numbers like these, and I think if we don't fix them, we're going to get socialism.
All right. So You got marriage rates declining. You got birth rates declining, all due to capitalism because people can't afford housing, childcare. Wages are stagnant. Capitalism. So, what's the alternative? Socialism. Sheesh.
Yeah, well, Tucker, I think a lot of younger adults are concerned about things like healthcare, employment, debt, and they see the government as sort of a good place for them to go to seek greater security, given the broader economic context we're seeing today in America.
So I want to zero in on marriage because I know that you follow that, you study that closely. So marriage is, among many other things, an indicator of and a cause of prosperity. Married people with kids tend to be more economically stable. What can we do to reverse the trend that's causing young people to delay or avoid marriage entirely?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that we can do. One thing we can do is get rid of the marriage penalties that face a lot of younger adults, particularly working class and poor adults, and things like Medicaid, the EITC, food stamps. I think we can also do more to think about things like doing more to subsidize working class wages. But I also think we have to sort of think about the cultural.
Subsidize working wages. So basically you get a welfare check, man. Right? Like, let's just say if you make under 60 grand, okay? Under 60 grand. You qualify for maybe $500 a month. Right? If you make under 30 grand, you qualify for $1,000 a month. And of course, if you make above, 200K, you don't qualify for it. And you should be able to do anything that you want to with that money too. But more than likely, they might put some stipulations on it. But we'll see.
Context that we're living in, and think about ways that we can make marriage both more appealing in the pop culture, and to think also about ways that we can.
It's interesting that he used pop culture too, because it got to be popular, amongst the youth, right? You got to put it in the music, put it in movies, build up a real good ad campaign that promotes marriage, make marriage cool again.
Do more to spend time in person and less time online as well, because it looks like online culture is playing actually a pretty big role in both the retreat from marriage and the retreat from fertility in the U.S.
I think all of us, married people, unmarried people, all of us have an interest in this because, married people with kids aren't joining Antifa and smashing store windows and calling for 95% tax rates and burning things down. They're just not. A country with a lot of unmarried young people is a volatile country. So why don't our policymakers take this seriously?
Well, I think a lot of people think of marriage as just a private issue, and that the government cannot and should not do anything about, marriage and fertility-related topics. And they don't kind of see how what happens in our families has a lot to do with what's happening, in our communities and in our country more generally.
Exactly. That's such an obvious point. Why isn't everybody saying that? It's so. Why do we ignore this as a cause of social volatility that's wrecking the country? Why does nobody say that?
Well, I think it's obviously, things related to divorce and single parenthood and cohabitation are very sensitive for a lot of us. I mean, we all know people have been in difficult situations, and so there's a reluctance to kind of engage on these issues. And yet the science is very clear. So we've seen work by Raj Chetty, for instance, at Harvard, that indicates one of the best predictors of mobility for poor kids in communities across the country is the share of two parents in a community. So of course.
That's what I just said, man. A two-parent household, no matter what it looks like, that's what's best for a kid, man. And at this time right here, at this moment in time, people aren't having kids. So what are they doing? They're just choosing to work. They're choosing to work, man. Work without kids. Work without a family. And I'm tying it in just in the industry that I'm in. Women are choosing to live in their trucks, alone, childless, by themselves. By themselves, in a truck, alone. Capitalism got them there, man. Feminism got them there, right? You just heard him, man. You just heard the professor. Housing up, daycare, childcare is up, healthcare, the cost of living is up, but wages are stagnant. So, I mean, I think women are being smart. I think teenagers in general are being smarter now. Like, you know what? It just doesn't make any sense to have a kid. So, let's put off having babies. And here's the thing. You saw the map with you saw the map. There's only those brown countries that's really going to sustain life moving forward. Everybody else, like, no, just don't make any sense. It doesn't make economical sense. All right, but y'all let me know what y'all think, man. This is, I was just doing some research, man, and putting some stuff together, right? Women in trucking and how they got here, why they are here, and what they're going to be doing moving forward. And I'm just putting some content together, man, and wrapping it up. And I'm like, capitalism is just really playing a big part on this thing, man. And the only way to correct something or correct what we in right now is socialism. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Is socialism the answer to the birth rate decline, or can we do something else? Yeah, let me know what y'all think, man. Until next time, this is the Big Money Trucker Dog. Hey, y'all keep the rubber side down, man. We out.